The sound of Harley-Davidson engines roared through the streets of Sydney, but beneath the chrome and leather lay a chilling reality that authorities never saw coming. A criminal empire had quietly woven itself into the very fabric of Australia's most notorious biker clubs. In 2000, Daut Kadriovski, the godfather of an Albanian Mafia family, gained attention of Australian authorities after creating a drug pipeline through Albanian and Croatian communities in Sydney and Brisbane. What started as isolated criminal activity would soon evolve into something far more dangerous: complete infiltration of Australia's biker underworld. The Albanian Shadow Network. This story begins in the mountainous regions of Albania, where ancient codes of honor and blood feuds shaped criminal organizations for centuries. Albanian criminal groups operate with a decentralized structure, multiple families working independently while sharing common goals. These clans function across international networks, famous for their brutality, loyalty among members, and tight control over criminal activities. Albanian crime clans are organized in 4, 6, or more levels. This structure helps them preserve operational capability, even when some members get captured. The hierarchy was built to survive law enforcement pressure and expand globally. The Albanian Mafia uses the term besa, meaning trust, as their code of honor. This wasn't just criminal protocol, it was a way of life binding members through blood and fear. Family structure is characterized by strong inner discipline, achieved through punishment for every rule violation. Fear guarantees absolute loyalty to the family. Since crime groups are based on blood relations, the number of clan members are limited, and bonds between them tend to be very strong. As a result, infiltrating Albanian crime groups is almost impossible. Members of other ethnic groups can be accepted only to execute one-time or secondary jobs. The Australian Gateway. Australia represented more than just another territory for Albanian crime families. It was a golden opportunity. The continent's geographic isolation, combined with its substantial drug market and sophisticated financial systems, made it an ideal base for international criminal operations. Since 2000, Albanian clans used identity fraud and family links to migration agents to move their people into Australia, setting up cells in Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, and New South Wales. This wasn't random criminal migration. It was a carefully planned invasion. The infiltration followed a precise 5-stage pattern that authorities later documented. Often, applicants apply for a particular visa, knowing it will be rejected, but they exploit the lengthy appeal process to generate evidence supporting a different visa application. Once in the country, they establish legitimate businesses as fronts while building criminal networks. According to investigators, these clan-based Albanian groups specialize in criminal activities like illegal cannabis cultivation, weapons, and drug trafficking. Their ultimate goal was far more ambitious than simple drug dealing. They sought to infiltrate and influence Australia's most powerful criminal organizations. Tom Doshi, the political face. At the center of this criminal web stood Tom Doshi, a leading Albanian businessman and politician with ties to the Prime Minister. Australia's top criminal intelligence agency suspected him of leading a criminal group that commits immigration fraud, drug trafficking, and money laundering. Doshi represented something new in organized crime, a criminal leader operating simultaneously in shadows and broad daylight. In his homeland, he built a business empire, benefiting extensively from state contracts. The United States designated him persona non grata in 2018 for involvement in significant corruption. Confidential intelligence documents from Australia claim that Tom Doshi headed an organized criminal group consisting largely of his family members. This family-based structure was classic Albanian organized crime, but its connection to Australian criminal networks was unprecedented. The Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission produced documents revealing the scope of Doshi's alleged operations. The files describe how Albanian clans used identity fraud and family links to migration agents, establishing criminal cells across major Australian cities. Targeting Australia's biker clubs. Australian biker clubs represented the perfect target for Albanian infiltration. These organizations controlled significant criminal territories, had established drug distribution networks, and operated with their own loyalty codes that Albanian criminals could understand and exploit. Australia houses 35 outlaw motorcycle clubs, with a combined membership of around 3,500 patched members. The major players included the Hells Angels, Bandidos, Comancheros, Rebels, Mongols, and numerous smaller clubs, each controlling different aspects of Australia's criminal economy. The Hells Angels established themselves with approximately 250 members and 14 chapters across the country. The club's activities traditionally included drug trafficking, prostitution, armed robbery, arms trafficking, and murder for hire. This made them natural partners for Albanian crime families seeking to expand operations. The Comancheros, founded in 1966 by Scottish immigrant Jock Ross, evolved into one of Australia's most violent criminal organizations. Starting in the late 1990s, the Comanchero Motorcycle Club took in a massive number of young men with Middle Eastern backgrounds to provide more manpower. This willingness to recruit from diverse ethnic backgrounds created opportunities for Albanian infiltration. The infiltration strategy. The Albanian approach to infiltrating biker clubs was both patient and sophisticated. Rather than attempting violent takeovers of existing clubs, they offered valuable services these organizations needed: international drug connections, money laundering expertise, and access to European criminal networks. Albanian drug trafficking emerged in various European regions, expanding operations across multiple countries. Their European connections meant they could offer Australian biker clubs access to cocaine and heroin routes they never possessed before. Due to their close ties with the 'Ndrangheta of Calabria, they control a large part of the billion-dollar wholesale cocaine market in Europe and appear to be the primary distributors of cocaine in various European drug hubs, including London. This European dominance made them invaluable partners for Australian criminal organizations. Albanian criminals didn't just join biker clubs, they provided essential services that made these organizations more profitable and dangerous. Their expertise in international drug trafficking transformed local Australian criminal operations into global enterprises. The Daut Kadriovski Empire. Daut Kadriovski, also known as Mehmet Hujdini, maintains connections with various international criminal organizations. He operates drug trafficking networks with hundreds of associates in Australia, Canada, Mexico, the Netherlands, Peru, Venezuela, and across the European Union. Kadriovski represented the new generation of Albanian crime bosses: international, sophisticated, and deadly. According to Europol, he stands at the top of a criminal organization unmatched for secrecy and brutality. His Australian operations were just one piece of a global criminal empire. The scope of Kadriovski's influence was staggering. His criminal organization is thought to be the main source of heroin in North America, sourced from Afghanistan. Through his Australian connections, he established drug pipelines supplying both local markets and international networks. What made Kadriovski particularly dangerous was his ability to corrupt legitimate institutions. Without his body, "We just haven't caught him yet," said retired police officer Eddie Williams, highlighting the challenge law enforcement faced dealing with such a sophisticated criminal network. Australia's biker wars create opportunities. Australia's biker scene had been marked by violent territorial disputes for decades. The infamous Milpera massacre of 1984 saw 7 lives lost, 6 club members and a civilian, in a gun battle between the Comancheros and Bandidos. These conflicts created opportunities for Albanian criminals to position themselves as mediators and suppliers. In early 1994, representatives of 6 major clubs, the Hells Angels, Outlaws, Bandidos, Rebels, Black Ulans, and Nomads, attended a club summit in Sydney. They informally decided to align under a decree known as the Australia 2000 Pact. This consolidation reduced the number of clubs from 178 in 1994 to 32 in 2000. Albanian criminals capitalized on this consolidation by offering services that helped surviving clubs maintain dominance. Their international connections provided access to higher quality drugs at lower prices, while their money laundering expertise helped clubs legitimize profits. The 2009 Sydney airport brawl between the Comancheros and Hells Angels demonstrated the continued volatility of Australia's biker scene. One Hells Angels associate member was beaten to death in plain view of witnesses at the airport, with police estimating up to 15 men involved in the violence. Such public violence created pressure for these organizations to operate more discreetly, a need Albanian partners could help fulfill. Modern integration. By the 2010s, the relationship between Albanian crime families and Australian biker clubs evolved from opportunistic partnerships into systematic integration. Albanian criminals weren't just suppliers or partners. They became integral parts of these organizations' operational structures. Victoria Police Commander Paul O'Halloran said, "They've got facilitators, professional facilitators to assist them, whether it's through visa migration issues, legal, or other means." This professional approach to criminal enterprise made Albanian partners invaluable to biker clubs seeking to expand operations. The sophistication of these operations was revealed through intercepted communications and financial investigations. Police stated in 2015 that the Hells Angels were the most active club on the Gold Coast after anti-bikie laws weakened rival Bandidos and Finks. Albanian support helped clubs adapt to increased law enforcement pressure by providing alternative operational methods. Albanian criminal expertise extended beyond drug trafficking into areas biker clubs never fully exploited. Their knowledge of international banking systems, cryptocurrency transactions, and legitimate business structures provided new opportunities for profit and protection. Law enforcement response. Australian law enforcement agencies gradually became aware of Albanian infiltration, but the scale and sophistication of these operations posed unprecedented challenges. The documents, produced by the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission, ACIC, and circulated to domestic and foreign police agencies, draw on numerous reports from local police forces and information from foreign law enforcement bodies. ACIC investigations revealed the systematic nature of Albanian criminal operations. This clan is, among others, from Shkodër, a county in northwest Albania, that systematically abused Australia's immigration system to build an entire Albanian organized crime criminal structure across South Australia. Intelligence reports documented how Albanian criminals exploited weaknesses in Australia's systems to establish permanent criminal infrastructure. 8 of Doshi's relatives have been implicated in drug and money laundering investigations, with some identified as primary targets. His relatives reportedly obtained Australian visas using false documentation. Global criminal network. The Albanian infiltration of Australian biker clubs represented just one component of a global criminal enterprise. The Albanian Mafia operates internationally, with strong presence primarily in Europe, but also in South America, North America, and parts of Asia. This international scope meant Australian biker clubs with Albanian connections gained access to criminal networks spanning multiple continents. The group is known for its ability to infiltrate legitimate businesses and has established connections with other international criminal organizations, such as the 'Ndrangheta and other Italian crime groups. The relationship between Albanian crime families and established criminal organizations like the Italian 'Ndrangheta provided a model for their operations in Australia. The German Federal Intelligence Service stated that the 'Ndrangheta act in close cooperation with Albanian Mafia families in moving weapons and narcotics across Europe's porous borders. Financial operations. Albanian criminal organizations brought sophisticated financial expertise to their partnerships with Australian biker clubs. Their experience in international money laundering operations provided these clubs with capabilities they never possessed before. Investigators believe the clan engages in money laundering and exploits Australia's immigration system to facilitate criminal activities. This wasn't simple cash management. It was complex international financial manipulation, allowing criminal proceeds to be legitimized through multiple countries and currencies. The Tom Doshi investigation revealed the scale of these financial operations. While documents don't contain details about his specific activities, they note that 8 of his relatives have been implicated in drug and money laundering investigations, some as primary targets. Albanian criminals provided biker clubs with access to legitimate businesses, serving as fronts for criminal activities. Their political connections in Albania and other countries created opportunities for these organizations to operate with reduced law enforcement pressure. Violence and intimidation. Albanian crime families brought a level of violence and intimidation to their partnerships that even hardened biker criminals found shocking. During a 4-year investigation, FBI agents infiltrated Albanian criminal organizations, buying heroin, marijuana, OxyContin, steroids, counterfeit sneakers, guns, and jewelry. Like the Italian-American Mafia, Albanian organized crime clubs were tight-knit and hard to penetrate. The willingness of Albanian criminals to use extreme violence made them valuable allies and terrifying enemies. Kadriovski created an organization based on absolute intensity and ferocity, something Italian prosecutor Cataldo Matta once called a threat to Western society. This reputation for violence provided their biker partners with enhanced credibility in criminal negotiations and territorial disputes. The knowledge that an organization had Albanian backing served as a deterrent to potential rivals and competitors. Current criminal landscape. Today, the infiltration of Australian biker clubs by Albanian criminal organizations represents one of the most significant developments in the country's criminal landscape. Albanian organized crime is the fastest-growing criminal threat in Europe, responsible for distributing up to 40% of the heroin consumed there, with tentacles in the United States, Australia, and the Middle East. The relationship between these organizations has evolved beyond simple partnerships into integrated criminal enterprises. Albanian expertise in international drug trafficking, combined with biker clubs' domestic distribution networks, created criminal organizations operating on an unprecedented scale. Law enforcement agencies continue struggling with challenges posed by these hybrid criminal organizations. Albanian criminal groups are highly active in the drug trade in the United Kingdom, Italy, and many other countries on multiple continents. Their well-organized and systematic operations in Australia highlight the threat posed by their international expansion. Ongoing investigations. Current investigations reveal the ongoing nature of Albanian infiltration into Australian criminal organizations. The emergence of confidential intelligence documents pointing to Tom Doshi's alleged leadership of an organized criminal group in Australia has sent shockwaves across the nation and beyond. These investigations uncovered the systematic nature of Albanian criminal operations in Australia. Since 2000, Albanian criminal groups used identity fraud and connections with migration agents to bring members into Australia, forming cells in Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, and other cities. The challenge for law enforcement is that these criminal organizations became deeply embedded in Australia's criminal infrastructure. Intelligence reports, produced by the ACIC, have been widely distributed to domestic and foreign law enforcement agencies to initiate comprehensive investigation into the Albanian criminal network in Australia. The continuing threat. The infiltration of Australian biker clubs by Albanian criminal organizations represents more than historical criminal activity. It's an ongoing evolution, continuing to reshape the country's criminal landscape. The Albanian Mafia's influence in global criminal networks continues growing, making it one of the most feared and well-established criminal groups worldwide. The partnership between Albanian crime families and Australian biker clubs created criminal organizations operating with unprecedented international reach and sophistication. These hybrid organizations combine the territorial control and violence of traditional biker clubs with the international connections and financial expertise of Albanian criminal networks. Understanding this infiltration provides insight into the future of organized crime in Australia. As traditional criminal organizations face increased law enforcement pressure, their partnerships with international criminal networks like Albanian crime families become increasingly valuable and dangerous. The dark evolution. The chilling discovery that Albanian crime families successfully infiltrated Australia's most notorious biker clubs revealed a criminal evolution authorities never anticipated. Through patience, violence, and sophisticated international connections, these organizations transformed from opportunistic partners into integral components of Australia's criminal underworld. The case of Daut Kadriovski, and the Doshi syndicate demonstrates how modern criminal organizations operate across international boundaries, exploiting immigration systems, corrupting legitimate institutions, and forming alliances that transcend traditional criminal territories. As investigations continue and new intelligence emerges, one truth becomes increasingly clear: the infiltration of Australian biker clubs by Albanian criminal organizations represents one of the most significant developments in the country's criminal history. The partnership between these groups created criminal enterprises operating with a scale, sophistication, and international reach that law enforcement agencies are still struggling to comprehend. The roar of motorcycle engines through Australian streets now carries with it the echo of Albanian criminal codes forged in ancient mountain villages. What was once a purely Australian criminal phenomenon became part of a global criminal network spanning continents and operating with deadly precision. The question haunting law enforcement today is not whether this infiltration will continue, but how deeply it has already penetrated the foundations of Australia's criminal underworld. In the shadows of legitimate society, where loyalty is measured in blood and territory defended with violence, the Albanian Biker Alliance continues writing its own dark chapter in the history of organized crime. The investigation into this criminal infiltration remains ongoing, with law enforcement agencies across multiple countries working to unravel networks that took decades to establish. For those who understand the true scope of this criminal evolution, one thing is certain: the war between law enforcement and these hybrid criminal organizations has only just begun.